Alright, you know what? I've seen over 500 horror movies. I've seen stabs 1 through 8. Just do the reveal already.
Surprise, Ryan. It was me the whole time.
Dude, I have no clue who you are. Can you just tell your partner to get out here? I'm ready to wrap this up.
Wait, you don't recognize me? I literally killed your mom. Also, I'm a director. I direct.
The fuck are you talking about? My mom died of cancer.
Surprise, Ryan. I'm the real Ghostface. You can ignore this other loser.
I don't know you either.
What? No, I'm the real Ghostface killer. I even have the backstory and everything. Oh, the dead mom thing? That's so played out. See, I'm here because I was Ryan's first subscriber. And he's gone downhill ever since the whole MatPat incident. Surprise, Ryan. You can ignore these other bozos. I'm the real Ghostface.
Bozos?
No, I'm the real Ghostface. No, I'm the real Ghostface. No, it's me. I'm the real Ghostface.
Nuh-uh, that's not true.
No, I'm Radio Rebel. Oh, really? You wanna take this now? Okay, alright. Oh, what? So, now you think you're Ghostface?
Come on, man. I'm freaking Ghostface.
I'm Ghostface.
Nah, I'm the real Ghostface.
I'm the real Ghostface. No, I'm the real Ghostface.
Guys, can I be Ghostface too?
Oh, really? So we're all Ghostface then?
I'm the real Ghostface, actually, you guys.
Guys, it's me.
No, you're not.
Guys,
I think we can all get along.
See? You see? See?
Alright, hello everyone, and welcome back to another video. It was time for me to get in another major horror franchise, and well, that's Scream, everybody! Scream is one of my favorite horror franchises of all time. I think that of the first 6 films, there is not a single bad movie. Now, I think there are worse Scream movies, but I don't think any of them are ever officially bad, in my opinion anyway. I also want to make something clear right off the bat. I am making this video for the algorithm before Scream 7 comes out. However, I don't think I'm going to be watching Scream 7 because I don't want to support that movie, because they fired Melissa Barrera after she condemned the genocide that is happening. So I don't want to support Scream 7 in any way. I do not intend to watch it, at least when it's in theaters. Maybe later down the line I will give it a shot, but I also just feel like it's going to be bad. I just don't trust any of it. If you still want to watch it, that's your prerogative. Good for you, I guess. It's just, I personally will not be doing that, but we have to talk about the first 6 films in order to get there. So let's start with Scream from 1996.
Hello?
Hello.
Who is this?
You tell me your name, I'll tell you mine.
Why do you want to know my name?
I want to know who I'm looking at.
And right off the bat, we have one of the best horror movies ever made, and I truly believe that. I also think that it is one of the most influential horror movies ever made. I don't think that many other horror movies have had as big of an impact on the genre as Scream did when it originally released, and it still has impacts that we see today. So Scream pops into the scene in 1996, and what does it do? It revitalizes the slasher genre. Not only do we get one of the most iconic slashers, horror villains of all time in Ghostface, voice acted by Roger L. Jackson, by the way.
What's your favorite scary movie? Scooby.
He does it in all of the movies, in all of the media for the most part. Like, he even voiced Ghostface in Mortal Kombat 1. I just want to give my shout out to Roger L. Jackson because he's fantastic. Ghostface would not be as big or as popular as he is if he didn't have the iconic voice. So absolute props to Roger L. Jackson. I'm continuing to repeat it because it's probably the only time I'm going to talk about it, because Scream is where he's introduced. Also, Ghostface physically is very iconic. The black cloak, the mask that's behind me right here, it's all very iconic. And I think part of what also makes him such a good killer is that he's a doofus. He's a bumbling, stumbling, clumsy idiot at times. And I think that's not only hilarious, I think that it's realistic, which makes it more scary. Because if you can knock Ghostface down and make him fall on his little tushy, then you know it's a real person that can actually kill you. Well, let me rephrase. If it were a supernatural creature that could realistically kill you, yeah, that's also scary. But in terms of our actual real life world that we live in, an actual human being is scarier than a fictional, I don't know, zombie or whatever, you know what I'm saying? So not only does Scream come out of the boat works and give us one of the most iconic killers in horror of all time, it also gives us one of the best final girls of all time. And I assume you know what a final girl is if you're watching this. But it gives us that with Sidney Prescott, played of course by Neve Campbell, who does a fantastic job, but we also get a wonderful cast of characters alongside Sidney Prescott. But alongside Sidney, we also have the core three, which is what I'll call them for now. We have Dewey Riley and Gale Weathers. Dewey is played by David Arquette. Gale is played by Courtney Cox, and both of them also are incredible in this movie. I think that this trio of characters is one of the best collection of horror characters that continue beyond the first movie. But yes, of the two other characters, I think Dewey is my favorite. I really like Dewey. David Arquette has such a unique way of acting that I just love him to pieces. He's like a little, I don't know how to put this. He's just a goofy guy. His little eyebrows make me smile and give me the most joy I've ever felt ever in the world before. And then Gale Weathers is an asshole in this first movie. She is a reporter, journalist type of person. Her goal is to, I don't know, just be an author, a writer, a better journalist. She just wants to be big time, all right? She gets under people's skin real easy, especially Sidney. Now, the cast wouldn't be complete without the other characters, so of course, I have to talk about the other characters. Dewey has a little sister named Tatum, played by Rose McGowan. She is not in this movie as long as some of the other characters because she gets killed. She gets murdered in the garage door. It's an iconic kill, maybe not the most realistic, because, but also it's still a good kill. It's very good. It's just a little goofy. But Tatum is also Sidney's best friend. So throughout the franchise, we get this wonderful kind of look between Sidney and Dewey after this. Oddly enough, I don't think they ever really mention Tatum again, but you can see that Sidney is basically Dewey's little sister also at this point. And then we have Tatum's boyfriend, Stu Macher, played by Matthew Lillard. My boy, one of my favorite actors of all time. I mean, motherfucker is Shaggy. Now, Sidney also has a boyfriend in Billy Loomis, which he kind of has a greaser look going on. He wears a white t-shirt and like greased back hair most of the movie. We also have characters like Randy Meeks, who survives this movie. We have Gale's cameraman guy. I forget what his name is. Yeah, we got a whole good cast of characters. Everybody's a suspect.
There's a formula to it. A very simple formula. Everybody's a suspect.
This movie plays big time into the meta of horror, and so does the entire franchise. Obviously, this one is playing most on the meta of slashers, kind of more particularly the whodunit side of slashers, so that's where we get the classic everybody's a suspect line. Now, this movie is also iconic in that it gives us two killers, something that we don't see very often among horror in general, but particularly in Scream Scream, the franchise, it is a very common occurrence. But the two killers are, of course, Billy and Stu. I love these two very much. They are some of my favorite horror killers of all time. I think that these two balance each other very well because Billy is more of a kind of undertone, obsessive, but still kind of serious killer guy. And then we have Stu, who is just the most over-the-top, wacky, crazy man you've ever seen in your life. Again, played beautifully by Matthew Lillard. I know in interviews he's been like, what the hell was I doing? I went way over the top. But I don't feel that way. I think he was perfect. And then we get, of course, just some of the best, most iconic lines of all time. I'll be right back.
I'll be right back.
You hit me with the phone, you dick.
Fucking hit me with the phone, dick.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad at me.
My mom and dad are gonna be so mad.
Like, you could quote Stu Macher for the rest of your life and be happy, which is how I would describe myself. So yeah, I think that this movie has one of the best casts of characters I've ever seen in a horror movie. I think some movies have kind of met that level, but I think that this is kind of like a good line of what some of the best can be. The general plot of this movie, I also really enjoy. Of course, it is one of the most iconic openings of any movie, of any horror movie. Killing off Drew Barrymore's character in the opening scene. She gets the phone call. It's the Ghostface voice. What's your favorite scary movie? It's incredible stuff all around. So we open with that, and then we just get the evolution of introduction to all the characters. We see that Dewey is a deputy. We learn that Sydney's mom was murdered, I think about a year ago. The prime suspect, the person who has been detained for it or whatever, I forget what the terminology is Cotton Weary, and Gale Weathers seems to believe that Cotton Weary is an innocent man, but Sydney continues to believe that Cotton is the one that did it. Spoiler alert, it wasn't Cotton. So yeah, we get this evolution of stuff, kills happen, it's a slasher movie, and then the reveal at the end of the movie is that Billy and Stu were the ones that killed Sydney's mom because Sydney's mom slept with Billy's dad, which made his mom leave. Very complicated situation, and then Stu is there because they're boyfriends. And I do mean that. The other thing that I forgot to mention is that this movie has incredible chase scenes. This is where we get the very funny moments where Ghostface gets hit with a bunch of shit and just stumbles around. One thing that I found interesting is that I didn't recognize it. There's a scene where I believe it's Sydney. Someone is hiding in a car. Ghostface shows up and he waggles like the key thing at her, and he keeps unlocking the car as she locks it over and over again. And then eventually the back of the vehicle opens, like the back trunk, and Primate from this year, the horror movie about the killer chimp, did this scene, but with the chimp doing it. But I just thought that was an interesting reference to mention here. But yeah, the end of the movie, Billy and Stu die, and I'm going to stick with that. I don't think that Stu will actually be alive in Scream 7. I just don't see that happening. I think they're gonna do some AI deepfake maybe, or just like look-alike brother type of thing. So many things in this franchise have essentially revealed that Stu is in fact dead. So I'm gonna stick with the fact that Stu is dead. Just want to put that out there. But Billy and Stu die. Sydney becomes one of the best final goals of all time. And this movie cements itself as one of my favorite horror movies of all time. But we have to move on to the next one.
Hello?
Hello, Sydney. Remember me?
What do you want?
It's time, girlfriend.
All right, and now we have Scream 2 from 1997. I believe that this came out not even a year after the original Scream, because the writer of the first movie and this movie knew that sequels were kind of a big thing, so he had already mostly written a sequel. I think that Scream 2 is still a good movie. It's not my favorite in the franchise. We will get to the ranking at the end of this video. I think that Scream 2 is fun in a lot of ways. It just ends up being a little bit more lame for me. So much like well, pretty much all of the Scream sequels, we get the return of Sidney, Dewey, and Gale. At this point, Gale and Dewey had kind of a relationship at the end of Scream, and now they're broken off again. But by the end of this movie, they get back together. It's an on-again, off-again thing between these two that continues to permeate throughout the franchise in an interesting way. So this go around, Sidney is at college. I don't know, she's at college. That's kind of the main thing about Scream 2 for me, is that it's the college one. We can see that Sidney is a badass in this one. She's a very strong-willed person, which again makes her a very iconic, very good final girl. We get some new characters thrown in the mix. Sidney has a boyfriend. He's part of a frat group, I guess. We also have some other guy that is here and is a friend of, I think, the boyfriend. He's not in the movie after like the second half. That's my main issue with Scream 2, is that a lot of the characters just kind of fizzle a little bit. We also have Sidney's roommate. Again, I forget her name because to me, she's just kind of a character that exists. The main draw to me about this movie is the core three of characters. Randy Meeks does return. He survived Scream, so he is here as well.
What's your favorite scary movie?
Showgirls.
He goes to the same college as Sidney. I think they do it just to like stick together because they went through a traumatic event together. Randy is the resident expert in film and horror, so Randy is the one that gets to basically explain things to the viewers and also the characters. But you know, in the original, Randy was like, here's the rules of a slasher, of a horror movie, and then in this one he's like, here's the rules of a sequel. Gotta go bigger, more kills, more elaborate kills. Anybody's a suspect again, also again.
Everybody's a suspect!
You know, just kind of stuff like that. Of the other characters, there's basically a foil to Gale in the form of another reporter. I think that she's pretty fun. I like her mostly because of the acting. I think her acting really stands out to me. I think the other important thing to mention about Scream 2 is that it introduces Stab. So Stab is the horror franchise that basically allows Scream to get extra meta. The original Stab movie, it's a movie franchise within the Scream franchise. Stab, the original, is based off of Scream, basically the events of, it's like the Woodsboro murders, I think is what they call it.
Can't wait to see the movie.
And Stab is something that we will see run throughout the entirety of the rest of this franchise. It continues to be a fairly important plot point, and again, it allows the thing to go a little extra meta because they can comment on Stab the franchise, which is also commenting on Scream the franchise, without directly commenting on itself, directly breaking the fourth wall, if that makes any sense. The opening of this one basically shows Jada Pinkett Smith gets killed. She's the opening kill. She is at a movie theater where they are screaming, where they are screening Stab. A bunch of crazy fans are there. She gets stabbed and murdered. I'm pretty sure they do find a way to connect it at some point. Is this the copycat one? Yes, this is the copycat one, because they're killing people that have the same names as the people that died in Scream. There's a lot of little things I could comment on too, like the stupid ass singing Top Gun song thing in the cafeteria that Sidney's boyfriend does. It's just really stupid. Oh yeah, also Cotton Weary is here. He's kind of here just to be a red herring character, and I like him. He's good, but he's just kind of trying to get Sidney to do like an interview with him. I don't know. He wants to be kind of famous, so yeah. The one thing that I will say that is a standout for me in the movie and the franchise as a whole is that it has one of the most tense, suspenseful moments. At some point, Ghostface shows up and they are in a vehicle. They're in a cop car. The car ends up getting crashed. Both of the cops are dead. Sidney and her roommate are in the back of the vehicle, and they have to climb out through and over Ghostface in order to escape. And I just think that it's a really good, tense, suspenseful moment. moment. I think it is a standout of the movie. There's also a weird theater thing going on in the background. Sydney does theater, and then the final act takes place on stage with a bunch of background theater props and whatnot. It's kind of out of place, but I guess it's fun in a way. But at the end of the day, the killers end up being Mickey. Mickey? Oh, he's the one that I told you about that wasn't in the movie after like the first half.
The girl was stabbed 7 times. Ouch.
He's one of the most forgettable Ghostface killers to me. Even his motive is kind of just like, he's a fan of stab. That's about it. The important part is that we get Billy's mother. She's the other killer. She's the reporter that is following Gail around. It's interesting because she does not interact with Sydney at any point, pretty much only Gail and a couple of the other characters, because Sydney would have recognized her because she does recognize her later. I don't know, she faked her name as like Pepper Salt or whatever. I don't know what the fuck her fake name was. I like her as a killer. I like Mrs. Loomis as a killer. I don't like Mickey, and so that's Scream 2. I still think it's good, but for me there's not as much to talk about, so let's get to the next one.
What do you know about trilogies?
Well, all I know about movie trilogies is that in the third one, all bets are off.
All right, and now we have Scream 3 from the year 2000. Whoa, we hit the 2K era. So Scream 3 is, I think, probably the dumbest and most ridiculous in the franchise, but I also think that it is very fun. So it's a little bit of a double-edged knife, but I do quite have my fun with this. I think that this would probably be a good amount of people's least favorite Scream movie, and I don't blame them for that because, again, it is very stupid. So the main stupid thing is that Scream 3 has a voice changer. Yeah, Scream has always had a voice changer. It's a Ghostface voice that all of them use. Well, not exactly. See, this one introduces a perfect voice replicator. It is able to replicate anybody's voice. I don't know how they get some of the voices. It doesn't make any sense. It's not possible, especially not in 2000. Even nowadays, AI voices are not really that perfect. Like, you can still tell when it's AI. So the fact that this little tiny machine, analog machine, can replicate voices perfectly is very unbelievable and very stupid. It's used throughout the movie in a lot of different ways to trick people. I don't like this at all. I think that it is my main point of contention with this movie. There are other stupid things going on though. At one point, Gail checks the pulse of someone who has died, and she says that he has died. We see her check his pulse. That man later ends up being the killer. He was not dead. Just don't show her checking his pulse. It's that easy. I think this movie also has one of the dumbest kills. I think it might be the dumbest kill. Basically, the killer is faxing them in a house, and they use a flashlight to read what it's saying, but then they go out of the house, and then they keep getting faxes, and one guy decides, I gotta know what they're saying. So he goes back into the house to read it, but can't read it because the power's out and it's dark and he can't see, even though you can totally see. And instead of using the same flashlight, uses a lighter, and it stays long enough for him to be able to read it, to see that it's about like the one who gets to live is the one that smells the gas or something, and then the house explodes, killing him. And it's dumb. It's just dumb. Now, the killer of this movie, and I intentionally choose to not pluralize that because it is just one. This is the only solo Ghostface killer. Is also dumb because Sydney has not once interacted with this person. But before we get to that, let me explain the general gist of Scream 3. Sydney, after going through 2 very traumatic events now, has decided to shut herself off from the world. We get to see a different side of Sydney. Meanwhile, they're in Hollywood and they're making Stab 3. And this is part of what I really like about Scream 3. It makes for a lot of very fun moments. We have actors playing different versions of the characters. My favorites are the girl that plays Sydney. I think that she's very fun. She ends up being a very good red herring character. And also the lady that's playing Gail. They have a very good beef because once again, Gail and Dewey are split up, but it's very fun and I love it a whole bunch. And the whole Hollywood side of things, this movie is playing on the meta of trilogies. There's a lot of very good stuff happening here. Other important characters to note: there is a detective named Mark, played by McDreamy. There is a director, the director of Stab 3. His name is Roman Bridger. He's the killer. He is very funny to me. He is a bad reveal because he's barely a character in this movie. He's never interacted with Sydney. Sydney does not know who this man is when he's revealing himself to her. I think he's very funny, and despite him being one of the lamest Ghostface killers, I find that very endearing in a stupid way because he is such a little bitch baby that it makes me laugh and I like it a lot. And in case you were worried, he's a director.
A director, Sid. I direct.
He directs. But also I guess his motive is that he's Sydney's half-brother. We bring back the Sydney's mom plot. So Maureen Prescott is a thing.
Maureen Prescott. She shut me out in the cold forever. Her own son.
Roman Bridger, director.
He directs.
I direct.
And this is where things get very real. A major subplot of this movie is the way that women are abused in Hollywood and taken advantage of. Sydney's mother, Maureen Prescott, is one of those people. That is how the half-brother Roman Bridger came to be. She was in Hollywood. She ended up at one of these Hollywood parties held by the overall big time producer of the company that is producing the Stab franchise. She gets there and taken advantage of. There are other little side plots that talk about this and call out this. I don't necessarily think that this movie covers it in the best way, but I also don't think it's bad. My main thing is that it probably could have been done a little bit better in some ways because they do make fun of it a little bit in the way that the girl that plays Sydney at one point says that she didn't sleep with that pig of a man in order to get the role, just to die here, basically. And that's kind of played as a joke, I think. Again, I don't really know the full extent of certain things. What ultimately I think is special about this is the fact that at least the first 3 Scream movies, I don't actually know for sure about Scream 4, are produced by the Weinstein Company. I think it's extra surprising that this was actually made it to the big screen. Also, again, this is something that is unfortunately very real and very serious and is a sad undertone of the franchise. Again, not only is the fact that the Weinsteins produced it upsetting, the reality is that Harvey Weinstein, Rose McGowan, who played Tatum in the first movie, technically alleged, but I fully believe Rose. This is something that I could have just not talked about, but I feel that it's important to talk about these things and just make it known that they are very real. So despite that very serious moment, I do think that Scream 3 is a very fun installment, and it's time for the next movie.
There's a killer out there patterning his murders after the original movie.
All right, and now we have Scream 4 from 2011. It's a whole decade later. Now, this is actually important that it takes place a decade later because not only does it allow the characters within the franchise to grow up and evolve, it allows extra unique horror meta commentary to take place. Because what is extra prevalent in the 2010s for horror? That's right, remakes. So now we get to have the meta commentary on remakes. Also, Saw has become a big franchise, so they kind of talk about torture porn horror, but also not really. That kind of just gets dropped in my opinion. So, I mean, it's an interesting thing to note, but I don't think that Scream 4 actually has much to say about it, frankly. Another interesting thing is that social media and the online space has kind of burst open a little bit. So now we get that side of things start to creep into the franchise more, which I do like and appreciate. And we see that that is the motive of the killers in this one. They are kind of looking to gain fame, just like Sydney and Gale did from the original trilogy. One thing that I want to be pedantic about, because horror is my thing and I get to be pedantic, they do this new rules thing where they talk about remakes, and the thing is, technically Scream 4 isn't a remake. Now they do apply some of the same variables, but despite the fact that they're talking about it as if it were a remake, Scream 4 is not a remake because Sidney Prescott, Gale, and Dewey are here. They are returning characters and it's playing with the same continuity, same actors and everything. So I get to be pedantic because I get to be pedantic, okay? So Scream 4 is interesting to me because it attempts to shift the focus to a new cast of characters in a way.
One generation's tragedy is the next one's joke.
But it never fully commits to that. And unfortunately, I think that's to a detriment because while it's trying to shift focus to a new, younger cast of characters in the form of Jill. Jill is Sydney's cousin. We also have Kirby, Jill's ex-boyfriend, two geeks, Charlie and some other guy. They're the nerds that explain the rules of the game, basically.
The unexpected is the new cliche, and virgins can die now.
Does that mean that I'm not going to live as long as these two?
And also some other girl. She gets murdered earlier on, though, so I don't remember her name as well. That's the group. So while the movie is trying to kind of focus on that side of things, it unfortunately for me still tries to keep focus on the core three, and that doesn't really work for me because none of the three feel like they really matter much, especially Sydney. Sydney is interesting, but not because of her. Dewey and Gale are a little bit more interesting because they are married and they're living together in Woodsboro, and this is causing Gale strife because she's not used to it. She's trying to write but kind of failing. When new killings show up and pop up, Gale wants to help out, but Dewey's now the sheriff, so he's like, no, you can't help me because I'm the sheriff now and I can't really let that slide.
What's going on? It's not public information.
It's all over the internet.
It is?
And I think it's kind of interesting, but again, because they're not really the main focus of this movie, they're not really present for like the final act, so they kind of feel a little undercooked and a little underwhelming to me personally. Another thing is that like they're on stab 7 or 8, I think at this point. One of the geek characters that's not Charlie is doing this thing where he live streams his life from a little headset camera. This was based off of a real life thing, but I still don't believe it. It's not very viable to me, at least not in 2011. We're starting to play with things, but again, it's still not fully landing for me. And he is also the one that for some reason makes the claim that in order to survive one of these movies, you have to be gay. That's just wrong. That's just straight up incorrect. I can't really think of a single movie at the point of Scream 4 coming out where that has ever been true. Another thing of importance to note is that this is Wes Craven's last Scream movie that he directs and makes. This is also, I believe, his last movie in general. Wes Craven is responsible for Screams 1 through 4, and I wanted to give him the credit once we got here to this point because it's the last one. They would not be what they are without him. From what I saw with a bunch of behind the scenes stuff, he really helped kind of make this seem like a big family, despite the fact that some of the movies were stressful to make, like Scream 2 and 3, because of extensive rewrites, because of leaked scripts and endings and stuff. I'm glad that he was able to make these movies, and I'm very thankful because of what he contributed. That being said, I think my favorite character in the movie is Kirby. I really like Kirby. She's a horror nerd, and that makes me like her because I'm a horror nerd.
What do you want?
Who is this?
He's trying to do Ghostface.
Kirby survives. She is not shown to have survived in this movie, which is interesting, but she does live because she comes back. And then we're at the final act, and the killers are Jill and Charlie. Yep. Charlie is another one of the more forgettable killers to me. I think that he's fine. He's played by one of the Culkins. I don't remember which one, but ultimately he's not that important. It's really Jill's time to shine. The main thing, right? This is what makes Sydney and Jill interesting to me, is that they are related. I don't particularly find Sydney that compelling on her own for her own reasons in this movie. I find her compelling because she has to grapple with the fact that her own relative is a Ghostface killer, but not because it's Sydney. It could have been anyone. It could have been Dewey, it could have been Gail, and if they were related to either of those two, it'd be basically the same story. And then that is also what makes Jill interesting to me. She wants to be famous like Sydney is. Sydney has written a book, but Jill doesn't want that old time fame. She wants that new kind of social media, online fame, and other stuff. Yeah, Jill's trying to be famous, and she knows that the real way to get extra famous is to be the only sole survivor, so she kills Charlie. It is at this point that Jill does a very long but very fun moment where she is injuring herself to make it look like she survived. They kind of kill Sydney. Obviously, she's not dead because it's Sydney Prescott, but like Jill, she thinks that Sydney's dead anyway. And then they're at the hospital. Jill is waking up and she's doing good, and Dewey's there, and Dewey's like, but don't worry, Jill, Sydney's gonna be okay. Of course, Jill is like, well, we can't have that because Sydney knows I'm the killer. There's a scuffle, and then Jill ends up dying. Also, this movie introduces Deputy Judy. I really like Judy Hicks as well, but she's better in another movie. Anyway, this movie is a lot for me personally. I also, unfortunately, and this is probably controversial, I don't really like Jill. I think her character is interesting. I think her motive is interesting. I don't like Jill's acting.
What's your favorite scary movie?
And that really draws me out of it. When she's not the killer, I think she's fine, but as the killer, I don't think it's good. But anyway, that's what I have to say about Scream 4. So next movie.
Hello?
It's happening. 3 attacks so far. Do you have a gun?
I'm Sydney Prescott. Of course I have a gun.
All right, and now we have Scream from 2022. Yeah, this one drops the numerical thing because it's playing on the meta of, you know, where like you have these requels, legacy sequels, they're coming back, but they're not numbering themselves, so they're just going off of the original name. That's what this one is doing, but from now on I'm going to continue to refer to it as Scream 5 because that's what it is. It's Scream 5. Again, another decade has passed and Wes Craven is not here anymore, so we have a new director and I think also writer in the form of Radio Silence. They are the ones making this movie. Scream 5, I think it's underwhelming for me in a lot of ways. The thing is, it does a lot of good things for the franchise. It sets up a lot of interesting things. It is one of the most emotional movies for me, but the problem for me lies in that I think this movie plays it a little too safe and is a little bit too derivative of the original Scream movie. So the number one highlight for me of this movie is the new cast of characters. We get introduced to the Core 4. The Core 3 is a thing of the past. Not technically, they are still in this movie, but we get the Core 4 in the form of Melissa Barrera's character, Sam. We have Jenna Ortega's character, Tara. Tara and Sam are sisters. And then we have Mason Gooding's character, Chad, and his twin sister, Mindy, played by Jasmine Savoy Brown. And I think that these four are very good characters. Now, Mindy and Chad are not as important in this movie as they are in Scream 6, but that's okay because they're still enjoyable to me. So the movie opens with Jenna Ortega's character, Tara, getting attacked by Ghostface.
Would you like to play a game, Tara?
In a very kind of similar, somewhat derivative way that Drew Barrymore's character was in Scream, except the twist is that Jenna Ortega survives. Tara lives this opening. The parts that I like about this movie are the characters. I really like Sam and Tara. Their relationship is very fun to me because once Sam was like 18, I guess, I think she kind of left the family, leaving Tara behind. And this causes some contention. The The reason Sam did this is because she found out that she is Billy Loomis's daughter. We actually get a Skeet Ulrich little cameos here where he plays Billy again in like reflections while he's talking to Sam because she has visions of him. But basically she left because she ended up causing their parents to split because I guess their dad did not know that the mom had an affair with someone, which is what resulted in Sam's birth. She causes the family to split up by revealing this information. Also, she feels like she is the daughter of a psychopath serial killer and is worried that that has been genetically passed down to her, and so she's worried about being that and doesn't want to harm Tara in any way, shape, or form. Most of this movie, Tara is subject to just being in the hospital because she's been severely injured. Meanwhile, Tara's friend group, Mindy and Chad, and also Chad's girlfriend, and also Tara's best friend, her name is Amber. She's played by Mickey Madison, who has gotten pretty big lately. Also, there is Wes Hicks, Judy Hicks's son. Judy is now sheriff, so Wes is here, and we get a nice little, of course, loving tribute to Wes Craven. So there's a lot of characters here, and because it's a requel, we're getting offspring from legacy characters or relatives of legacy characters.
The attacks were all on people related to the original killers.
So yeah, that's why we have Mindy and Chad being relatives of Randy Meeks. I think he was their cousin maybe or something like that. But we also have the return of Sydney, Dewey, and Gale. Oh my god, this movie has so many characters in it. I think the most compelling to me is Dewey. Frankly, I think Sydney and Gale are not that important or not that super well utilized in this movie. They are here because of who they are. They are legacies. They don't really have anything to do with the plot. Really, they're just there because. But Dewey, like I said, is very interesting to me because Dewey is kind of fallen out of things. He has gotten a divorce with Gale. Gale is living in like New York. She's the host of a show. She's doing it big time, and Dewey's kind of fallen to the wayside. He's a bit of a drunk, maybe not so much anymore, but he used to be. And basically he's living in a little camper. At one point, Sam and her boyfriend, Richie, played by Jack Quaid, show up asking him for help because he's been through it. He knows what to look for, and he originally turns them down, but then he proves later on that he is the character that we know and love, and he is truly a man that always will do his best to take care of others and protect people. He shows up to help.
There's certain rules to surviving.
And this is where the most emotional movie comes into play. He gets killed in this movie, which I think is absolutely tragic because Dewey is potentially my favorite character in the franchise. Now, I don't actually have a problem with them killing him because aside from Scream 2 when they killed Randy, this franchise has not really ever killed off anyone of important status. So I think that Dewey's death is very impactful and very beautiful and very fun and very meaningful. Once Dewey dies, then we get to have Gale and Sydney show up, and this is where I go, okay, Gale, I kind of get why you're here. Sydney, I frankly don't think you needed to be here. Sydney's just kind of here because Dewey died. She doesn't look that visibly upset about it, which bothers me because those two are basically siblings at this point. She's just kind of like, man, I'm so sorry that this happened to you, Gale. I definitely have no relation to this. But yeah, there's the whole plot is ever evolving, and there's a whole everybody's a suspect thing.
Everybody's a suspect!
I really like Mindy because she is the Randy stand-in where she gets to explain the rules of the requels, and then eventually Sam and Tara and Richie are like, we're gonna just get the fuck out of here. But Tara has an inhaler, so they go to Amber's house to get an inhaler before they leave for good, and guess what? It's Stu Macher's house. It's the original house from Scream 1, and again, this is where it's a little derivative for me. I mean, the whole movie's been a little derivative, but yeah,
Hello, Sydney. It's an honor
The killers end up being Amber and Richie. So again, it's the boyfriend and someone else. I think that they're fine killers. Their motive is fun for me because they are upset by Stab 8. They do not like Stab 8, so they're trying to be real, true fans and make a good, authentic movie for the franchise again. So I like the motive in that it's kind of like playing with the obsessive fan, like the true, like really big fanatic by the kind of insane definition of fanatic. Amber, Mickey Madison does a fine job. She does the kind of stew over the top mannerisms and it's entertaining. It's fine. I'm gonna be honest, Jack Quaid as Richie, I just don't find that compelling. Fine, but just like, we've seen it before, so like, I don't know. The only difference is your motive. But yeah, they both die, and Sam ends up defeating them by killing Richie by stabbing him like 22 times or some shit. Really over the top thing. Again, playing into the, well, is she gonna be a psychopath because her daddy be Billy? Oh, I don't know. Tara lives, and also Chad and Mindy live, and also Gail and Sydney live. That's Scream 5. Next movie.
Please help me. Just don't
Lying here, girl.
You got a problem here, guy?
All right, and now we have Scream 6 from 2023. All right, so the plot has officially kind of moved on from the core 3, which I like. I like the passing of the torch. This one does technically have Gail in it, but she's not really a pivotal character.
Hello.
Let's play a game.
You know you're like the 10th guy to try this, right?
I still think that this movie wraps it up fairly good for this collection of characters, so I'm still happy with it. Scream 6 still feels like it's kind of taking in the vibes of Screams 2 through 4 and kind of letting them wash over this movie, but not in a derivative way, just in a, yeah, you see some like little nice things here and there that are fun to remember. Like Scream 6 primarily takes place at a college campus in New York. Scream 2 took place on a college campus. And we also just kind of see elements of the other Scream movies in here. So I like it. I think that this one does a better job of being original and not too derivative. So I appreciate it for that. Tara and Sam are, I think, living together in an apartment in New York. Sam is not in college, but Tara is. And at this point, they do something very interesting with Sam's character. They basically wrote in the real life hatred that Melissa Barrera got for being in Scream 5 and kind of applied that to her character in this movie, where she is being hated. Rumors have spread on Reddit and online and stuff that she is the actual killer and she set up Richie and Amber, primarily Richie. So people think that she is the real killer, especially because her father is Billy.
I had this secret. There's a darkness inside of me.
So it's this whole really unique story that I really like and enjoy. She's struggling, she's dealing with a lot, and Tara is too, but for different reasons. Like, she's not like really processing her grief all the way. She's putting herself in some dangerous situations, and so we see the two of them butt heads in a very fun way. And also Chad and Mindy get extra flavor to ooze all over this movie. I think that they get better development, especially Chad, because originally Chad was just kind of like a jock that was there, and now he gets to be more than that. We get to see him be a kind-hearted man that cares a lot and does a lot, so I like it. We also have Sam's kind of boyfriend in this movie. He's the cute guy. That's what I know him as, because that's what they refer to him as most of the movie. He lives in the same apartment building. Sam isn't really like making the relationship public, mostly because she doesn't want to involve him in things, I think, and she's not like fully ready to have a proper relationship, I think, after Richie. So again, we get a lot of depth to these characters that I appreciate. And also, I really want to shout out this cute guy, because this man is one of the most genuine, sweet, understanding, compassionate characters that we have ever gotten in one of these movies. Like, they play him as if he might be a killer because it's the boyfriend character. He's always going to be a suspect. In fact, everybody's a suspect.
Everybody's a suspect!
But this man genuinely is the nicest, most helpful man I think we've ever seen in one of these movies. He helps them escape from the killer using a ladder over bridging the gap in the apartment building in one of the most fun kills in the movie, which is Mindy's girlfriend. She gets killed in this way. But even at the end of this movie where Sam is like, you can't come with us because I can't trust you fully because you might be a killer. He's like, it's okay. I understand. Do what you gotta do. I'll be here for you when all is said and done. And I'm just like, what? You're so good. We also get the return of Kirby in this movie, and I fucking love Kirby. She is an FBI agent in this one, and she takes a special interest in Ghostface cases, which I think is fun.
We share a certain history.
I really like her interaction with Tara in this one because they basically get to have a horror geek off at some point, which is very fun for me. As for the other characters, I left them out because they're the killers. Basically, Tara and Sam have a roommate named Quinn, and I like Quinn. The interesting thing is that Quinn gets killed early in the movie. She's killed before even the ladder scene. This is the most genuine twist that I've got in a movie, and some people may think that it's unfair. I don't really care because her father's the cop. So it makes sense to me that her father would be able to find a way to kind of trick things once he gets to the scene of the crime, especially because he knows it's going to happen, so he can get there way earlier than any cops would have. So it doesn't bother me, and I think it's an actual good twist. The cop guy, dad guy, whatever, being the killer, to me wasn't that shocking of a twist. He's fine. I don't particularly think any of these killers are great in terms of like performance or character wise. And then the other one is the like little sad little cuck boy. I don't know what his name is. He's Chad's roommate, I guess. He is for me alongside Mickey in the sense of like most forgettable Ghostface killers of all time. In fact, he's like the only one I think where I don't remember his name really. There's also like there's a weird part of the movie where Mindy gets attacked in the subway car by a Ghostface killer. I think it might be Quinn. I think she said something about it. But the point is, he helps Mindy after this. He helps get her to a hospital, and that doesn't make sense to me. Why would he do that? The only reason that this happens is because the twist about him getting revealed as a Ghostface killer is about to happen in like 10 minutes. So like, we gotta make you believe that he is a good guy. It's just kind of a stupid point, and it's I think the only stupid part in this movie, because I'm like, well, that just doesn't make any logical sense for him to do that, and it's just here purely to trick the audience. But yeah, so now we have the first ever time we get 3 Ghostface killers, and that's pretty fun. Their motive is Richie was their sibling slash son.
You want me, so let's finish this.
I really like that. I think it's a fun motive. We have kind of gotten it before with Billy's mother, so it's not that unique of a motive, but I do like the idea of having an actual full family be the Ghostface killers. I just think that that is unique and fun. Oh yeah, I also forgot to shout out the opening sequence of this movie. I think behind the original, this is the best opening sequence of the franchise. It is extremely good. It really plays on what we've come to expect as viewers of the franchise. It's a girl that gets murdered by a Ghostface killer, except the Ghostface killer takes off the mask so we see who it is, and then we follow this guy go back to his apartment where he's planning to kill Tara, I think, later on, but then he gets killed by the actual Ghostface killer. So like, oh my god, just really fun stuff, really unique, and this movie continues to play with the horror meta stuff.
What is this place?
A shrine.
I think ultimately the main complaint that people have with this movie is the fact that too many people survive. I don't actually have an issue with that. Chad and Mindy both live. Chad gets stabbed a bunch of times, which also happened to him in Scream 5, by the way. And I think that people are like, oh, come on, that's not realistic. That man got stabbed freaking so many times. How's he alive? And I go, I don't know, dude. I'm not upset because we saw Sydney, Dewey, and Gale survive 4 Scream movies movies, so it's not upsetting to me that the new core cast of characters also survives this movie. That's just not something that bothers me, and they went for the emotional impact of him getting stabbed so many times instead of making it look more realistic. So frankly, it doesn't bother me. I don't know, I didn't have many issues with this movie personally, so I think it's time for me to finally rank all of them. So let's get to the ranking. Okay, and here we are, time to rank these movies. I think that I'm going to have a bit of a controversial ranking here. So again, I don't think any of these movies are bad. I think that they are all good movies. I just think that there are ones that are my least favorite of the franchise. But in last place, in sixth place, I have Scream 4. A lot of stuff didn't work for me in Scream 4. I like the idea of Jill being a Ghostface killer. It's not nailed. It doesn't work fully for me. I think that the movie doesn't really know how to balance things properly between the new and the old cast. Ultimately, the surviving characters, the important characters, are still Sidney, Gale, and Dewey, and yet they're not really that important here. I still think it's good. It's just my least favorite of the franchise. Now in fifth place, we actually have Scream 5. Scream 5, I think, is a good movie. I think that Scream 6 would not be as good as it is without Scream 5 setting it up. However, unfortunately, I think that Scream 5 is too derivative for me. I think that it does the same stuff too often, and that it just doesn't work for me because I can just watch Scream again. Again, I do like this one. I like the new cast of characters. I think that this helps set up the passing of the torch fairly well, but ultimately, it's just a lot of the same stuff. Now in fourth place, I have Scream 2. Yeah, I think a lot of people would probably put Scream 2 higher on their list. Scream 2 just kind of it fizzles for me. There's a lot of stuff that it doesn't feel as high stakes. It doesn't feel as special. There's just a lot of lulls in this movie that just don't do it for me. There are some fun scenes for sure. There's some fun stuff, but ultimately it just doesn't quite hit for me as much as the others do. And then in third place, we have Scream 3. I don't think a lot of people would put Scream 3 this high, but me personally, I do. Again, I think Scream 3 is the dumbest of the movies. I think it has some of the stupidest decisions, especially the voice changer. And even Roman Bridger, I think, is a technically bad Ghostface killer, but I personally really like him because he's a little crybaby, and I find that funny. I also just like the character dynamics a lot in this one. I like how the core three are handled in this one, and I really like all the fun Hollywood stuff, the fun parts, and I like the meta stuff. So despite its shortcomings, I also think Scream 3 is one of the most fun Scream movies. And then in second place, we have Scream 6. Yeah, I think Scream 6 is my favorite sequel of any of the Scream movies, which is maybe surprising, but I truly fell in love with the core four. I really like what this movie does. It has fun meta on the concept of horror franchises. It's a fun one for me, and it's my favorite sequel. And then in first place, it's Scream, the original, of course. I think Scream, the original, is one of the best horror movies ever made. I think that Billy and Stu are some of my favorite killers of all time. I think Sidney is one of my favorite final girls of all time. Scream is just incredibly influential. It introduces Ghostface. It introduces so many meta influences in the subject of horror. Oh my God, it is a revolutionary movie for the genre, and it is just a very fun watch. I could watch this movie many times and be very happy. So yeah, that's my ranking of the Scream movies. What are your ranking of the movies? I would love to know. What are my opinions that upset you a little, but like put it in a nice way, please. I hope you're having a fantastic day. Thank you so much for watching. If you liked, please like and subscribe. It means a lot to me. I love doing these franchise reviews. I have more coming, of course, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.